Steve Bone is with us, and Steve, right after the final whistle, you sent me the shortest text message I've had for a long time, which was just, phew.
Phew. Yes. I thought that was the word, really, wasn't it? After 9 months or 8 months, whatever it is, of what's going to happen? Are we going to have a good season, bad season? Are we going to stay up? We can all relax. We can all breathe again and relax. Never in doubt, was it, really? or maybe it was. I always thought we'd stay up, and I think I've been quite consistent on here as saying, although there was a few worries after that little run in March where we lost to Derby and Swansea at home and then got hammered at QPR. I think there was a few concerns there because we did look to be heading into the bottom three at that stage, and even after Oxford, because we didn't beat Oxford, I think there was still a few sort of lingering worries then as well, because we hadn't picked up 3 points in a game where most thought we needed to. But even then, I always thought we could do it, and we have done it, and exactly the same as last season, even on the same date as last season, we've got over the line with 2 games to spare, and we can look at others below us in the struggle now in these last couple of games. And you have to say well done to all concerned, really. It's not been easy, has it, staying up this season? Been a bit harder than last season, really, in a way. Often the way with second season syndrome, isn't it? People have found you out a little bit, and there have been a few teams who've come down here that we beat quite comfortably last season down here, and they've turned us over this season. So we've had to factor that in as well. But no, pleased to get over the line. But not really surprised that we did.
Yeah, we'll get on to the next couple of games, dead rubbers though they may be, in a sense, and also talk about Leicester and the last few games, actually, we can now sum up. But first of all, we don't want 3 in a row, do we?
What, 3 defeats in a row?
Relegation battles.
In a row. Oh, 3? No, we don't, really. I think that seems to be the theme now, doesn't it? It seems to be what everybody's saying, and I think the manager has been quite clear as saying it as well. If you have a similar season every season and you're in and around the bottom 6, eventually your luck's going to run out and you are going to end up in the bottom 3. Having survived twice, having come up from League One in 2024, survived last year, survived again this year with some extra difficulties in the way, we do need to move on from that and move up from that, don't we? We need to progress. People want to see a team that can hold its own in this division. We're not necessarily expecting Pompey suddenly to be a top 6 team in the Championship. I think that's a little way away, but we want to be comfortable, or at least a lot more comfortable than we have been. We want to see a team in mid-table. We want to see a team maybe in the top half, just sort of threatening a little flirtation with the playoffs. Don't forget, playoffs next season, you only have to finish 7th, or is it? No, it's 8th, in fact, isn't it, to be in the playoffs next season? So that will be a more open thing. So people are watching very closely now to see what sort of money is spent in the summer on transfer fees and player wages. No one's expecting it to be a 1,000% increase or anything like that, but people know that you need more investment if you're going to just look a little bit higher up that league table and look to be that more comfortable. And as you say, we don't want a third season like this. If we're sat here in a year's time, relieved again and saying, "Oh, that was close, but at least we stayed up," then we need to be asking ourselves, are we ever going to get out of this cycle of struggle? Big summer ahead, on and off the pitch.
Yes. Do you want to talk about Coventry, or shall we move swiftly on?
Well, it was kind of inevitable, wasn't it, really? I know people said they were already promoted and might have been celebrating, but they still had a title to win, so that was never going to be. They were never going to have taken their foot off the gas or anything like it. And we'd given everything in those 3 games. We'd been away to Middlesbrough and defended for our lives and won. We'd given everything at home to Ipswich, and in a different sort of way. We kind of Leicester was a hard slog, wasn't it? It wasn't a great game. I thought we sort of sank to their level a little bit. So it was another case of one game too far. We've seen it a few times this season where we've had a really good run and then a big letdown at the end of it, biggish defeat, and this was another one. I think everybody had one eye on that game and the other eye on Oxford, and when they lost to Wrexham, that sort of sealed things. So it didn't really feel like we'd lost 5-1 that night, did we? And we were able to give Coventry some polite applause for their title, and they gave us some polite applause in return. Everybody was happy and friendly. So yeah, don't think anyone will lose too much sleep over that result on its own.
Let's touch base on that streak of 3 incredible wins. Really great score lines and excellent performances as well. But looking at it back with under a microscope, Bowett's goal was hand of God, wasn't it? Hand of God, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? It did appear to sort of just brush, didn't it? It wasn't an obvious one though, was it? So you can see why it wasn't seen at the time, and even if it, there's a lot of people saying, if we'd had VAR, that would have been ruled out. I don't know. With VAR this season, we've seen some what you might think when you look at them in slow motion to be obvious things and fouls and handballs and whatever not given. So maybe it wouldn't have been, but. Fact is, we haven't got VAR. Fact is, it was given. It was a marginal handball anyway, wasn't it? It wasn't handball in the old sense of the word. He didn't sort of stick his arm out and divert it in. It just happened to brush his arm and other parts of the body as it went in. We had a goal off of Chaplin's sort of hip at Middlesbrough, didn't we? So we're obviously just trying to score goals with all parts of the body before the season's out. But what I did think was that's 2 massive goals that Boat has scored, both from corners at Fratton Park this season. Because if you remember, he got the winner against Blackburn in December, which was a huge win because it was after a run of 3 straight defeats. And it was Blackburn were obviously down there with us. We went 1-0 down to Blackburn, levelled through I think Callum Lang, and then Boat headed in the winner. So he, in the 6 points that he has earned in very few appearances, absolutely vital. And I've seen a few people saying it's a shame he hasn't had more games really, because he's looked pretty good whenever he's played. But yes, I particularly enjoyed dishing out that sort of treatment to Leicester, because we all remember 1993 and finishing 12 points above them in the playoffs, and then going out in the playoff semi-finals to a clearly offside Ian Ormond-Droid goal. I know some people will be rolling their eyes and saying, "Oh, he's not still going on about that, is he?" But I'm afraid I'm still going to be going on about that, even though we've sort of got one over them this season. I thought Leicester were a fairly desperate team and club when they came down, weren't they? They didn't have anything going for them at all. They didn't look like a team fighting to stay up, did they? Which we have in recent weeks. And even at the end, their players didn't really seem to want to approach the fans, did they? Probably for fear of what sort of abuse they might get in reply. So not sorry to see them go down, but was happy to see that we got the points in that one, which we needed.
I mean, let's kick them whilst they're down. Guy Whittingham came out with a brilliant comment at one point during the game. He said that was a nice little move there. He said, we've got to remember that they have got some very good players when they can be bothered.
Yeah, well, it did look a bit like that, didn't it? They just even when it was 0-0, they as I say, they didn't have much intensity about them, did they? They clearly have got some good players. They've still got some players from their Premier League time there. But yeah, if you're a Leicester fan, you would not be happy. Well, Leicester fans aren't happy, are they? I think in the home game on Tuesday, they were sort of booing the players as they came out to start the game, which is quite unusual for for a home crowd to do against their own players. They've had a terrible season. Even without the points deduction, they'd be looking at going down, I think, wouldn't they? And just as a side note to the Leicester sort of fall from grace, you asked me without any warning last week, was their sort of trick of going from Premier League champions to third division in 10 years a record? I've since seen that it's not. Not that Pompey beat it, but Pompey won the title in 1950 and ended up in the third division 11 years later, so that was close. But Derby once did it in 9 years. They won the Old First Division title, and I think it would have been, I can't remember now if it was that they won the title in the, I think it was that they won the title in the mid-70s and were in Division 3 9 years later, so like 1983 or something, and that is the record. So Leicester haven't quite sunk as fast as Derby did, but it's still a big fall for them, isn't it? And the way they've gone, and it's such a decline, you can't really see them immediately turning it around next season and bouncing back. Maybe they will, I don't know, maybe this is their low point, but it's not. League One is not a given, is it? Been a few teams gone up and down, and actually when they've gone back down have not found it very easy to come back up to the Championship. So keep an eye on that one, but we don't have to worry about them next season. They're out of the way, as are Sheffield Wednesday, and we now wait to see if it's Oxford who take the third spot. I think it probably will be, although they can still catch Charlton, can't they? So there'll be a few teams we're not playing, and a few new opponents on the horizon, which is good.
Yes. What do you read into the fact that Leicester and possibly West Brom as well are going to be, or have been, or are going to be punished for misspending, if I can call it that? And what do you think we can learn from that? What do you think would be a reasonable amount of treasure to put into John Messino's and the recruitment team's war chest this coming summer?
It's clearly there are now, I think it's taken a long time, but there are now rules in place designed to stop teams overspending in as much as you're only allowed to make a certain amount of losses. I think it's over, and they look at it over a 3-year period, don't they? I think that's what Leicester were done for, and it's what West Brom are being looked at for now. It's the total amount of losses over that sort of period of time. I mean, all clubs must know the rules. All the club secretaries and financial controllers and what have you would know the rules. You would hope inside out, because if they don't know them, what hope have the clubs got of sticking to the rules? Despite the fact that those rules are in place, teams are still making massive losses, aren't they? We've seen the total losses in the Championship go up by quite a significant amount year on year. So you have to ask if those rules are they tight enough? Are they right? Are they well balanced? A number of clubs now have fallen foul of them, Leicester being the latest. West Brom, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I don't think that's been proved yet, but they'll be waiting nervously to see what the ruling is there and what punishment they get. You would hope that it would make Pompey and everybody else a little bit more prudent, or well, not necessarily a little more prudent, because some clubs have been prudent. Pompey have been prudent, really, haven't they? Because they haven't overspent. They've still made losses, but they haven't been big losses. You would hope that it would just make clubs stop and think, right, well, how much are we going to spend? How much are we willing to spend? If spending X amount doesn't quite get us where we want to be, well, do we have to just say, let's make the best of it, rather than double the amount we're going to spend and risk the wrath of the authorities? It's a difficult one. I mean, I don't begin to understand the intricacies of football finances. things do, not just at our level but Premier League level and much lower levels as well, things do seem to have got out of hand pretty quickly, don't they? With the amount of losses that clubs are making, and in some cases are willing to sort of put up. I don't think Pompey are in a lot of danger of falling foul of any rules, because we the owners have set their stall out and they've said this is what these are the sort of budgets we're going to set. We are not going to throw silly money at it. What you've then got to find is the balance between not overspending but spending enough to be competitive. Where is that sort of point? It's a difficult one to find, isn't it? Now, I don't think any Pompey fans want the owners just to spend millions and millions and millions on this player and that player and the other player in the hope that they might get into the playoffs or get promotion to the Premier League. I don't think anyone is asking that. I think what people are asking is for the investment at Fratton Park to put us on a more even footing with half of the clubs in the Championship. Whereas at the moment we're sort of bottom two budget. People want to see that improved and think that the team and the manager has done enough over the past 2 seasons to warrant that sort of increase. But difficult balancing act for those whose money it is. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes.
You very kindly sent us a link to a BBC interview that you tracked down that John Bassino had given very recently, about 24 hours ago. And you've also said to me off air that you detected a slight sea change in what he was saying publicly about the transfer window.
Yes, I just thought this was an interview that he gave live on Radio Solent, if we're allowed to mention that on here, on Wednesday morning. Rick Jackson, the breakfast show presenter, did it. And maybe it was because it's a different sort of interviewer to the ones he's normally talking to. I thought the questions were put in a different way. They were a bit more direct in terms of saying to John, what needs to happen now? Are you staying at Pompey, and what needs to, if you are, what do you want to see, and this, that and the other. And I just thought he went a little bit further than he has before in being quite clear that we need to continue to invest off the field. He did say that, but he was quite clear. We need more investment on the field. We need more investment in the team. In other words, to sort of paraphrase it, and I hope I haven't over paraphrased him there. I just thought it was a slightly different. I wouldn't say it was a different tone, but there was a little bit more. He was a little bit more forward in what he was saying. I'm just going to read a couple of bits from it, if that's okay.
Yeah.
He said the investment we put in terms of the infrastructure has been amazing, considering where we were as a club in 2017 and previously when fans saved the club, but we're still a long way behind other Championship clubs in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the training ground, staff networks, all those sort of things. So we've got to keep going with that. I think we have to take a view in terms of where we want to be with the playing budget, and I think that's going to be a conversation over the next couple of weeks. And he then said, if we don't invest on and off the pitch, I think we'll perennially be in this relegation fight, and we need to try to move away from it. So he's saying, he's saying what a lot of fans have been saying for a long time, isn't he? I think, and while he's never spoken against that view, he hasn't really spoken for it that clearly before, I don't think. So I think maybe he's just wanting to put a little bit of pressure on the bosses there and say, right, come on, we've stayed up last year, we've done work miracles to stay up last year and this year. Let's see a bit more money. Let's see the purse strings loosened a bit, and let's see, if you do that, if you loosen the purse strings, give me a chance to show what I can do with it. I think that is his sort of approach at the moment.
And that seems to almost everybody, perhaps everybody, to be Absolutely right. I was at a cricket match on Tuesday and I got talking to the gentleman next to me who turned out to be an ex-Brighton player whose career was cut short by injury. But obviously he's kept himself up with the game and he has a sort of an insider's view on these things. And the first thing he said to me when he found out I was Pompey, he said, "You're not going to be able to hold on to John Messino, are you?" Hold on to John Messino, are you?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people worried about that, because if he doesn't get a little bit more investment in his squad, I think most people think he will, not that he'll sort of go off in a strop and immediately walk away, but he'll be a little bit more open to offers from clubs that he sees as a bit more ambitious. And equally, if other clubs at the sort of level that he might be looking to go to, if other clubs get wind of the fact that he's not happy with what he's being given here, not happy with the tools he's being given, they're far more likely to come in for him and to make an approach to the club and to him and his agent and what have you. People talk in football, don't they? And people watch what's happening at other clubs and with other managers and players. It's all out there. It's all quite public. So that would be the worry, that if the summer doesn't go as John wants it to in terms of the budget and recruitment and everything else, then you have to ask, will he still be here come that first game of 26-27? We hope he will be, but there is presently a risk, I would say, that he won't be.
He treads carefully, John Messino. He's very diplomatic, softly, catchy monkey and all that sort of thing. But he came out with a comment yesterday. I'm dying to get your thoughts on this. He said, whatever happens in the summer, we are going to have to trim off some fat. Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That suggests that he's got a number of players in mind, whether they're out of contract or still under contract, that he doesn't see being part of the squad next season, I would think. And it happens every year to an extent, doesn't it? It happened last year, even with one or two players that we didn't think would move on. So it suggests that he's going to be quite ruthless with sort of streamlining the squad, and perhaps he feels he needs to do a bit of that before, in order to get into a position where he can then say to the owners, right, we need X number of new players. Look at who we've got rid of. Get rid of the ones that aren't going to take us forward. So we now need to replace them and improve upon them as well. And you could go through the 25-man squad and a couple of others who are not in it because they're injured at the moment, and you could, most fans would probably pick out 10 players, and that would be a mixture of those whose contracts are running out and those who aren't, that they would be quite happy to see move on, because they haven't really done it for us this season. But there'll probably, as ever, there'll probably be one or two surprises when they come out with the list of who they're keeping and who they're not. There might be some interest in players we want to keep that the club will then have to consider what money is on the table. There'll probably be some bids for Devlin, for example. Has Devlin got his price? Do Pompey think? Is there a bid that with Devlin Pompey would think is reasonable and they'd consider selling because of the money it would give them to bring somebody else in? It's going to be fascinating summer, I think, in the transfer market for us. There's already been a few names starting to crop up, one or two here and there. There hasn't been a lot of transfer talk yet, but there has been some, and that's because I think the agents know that we are going to be we might be one of the busier clubs in the market in the summer. At the championship level, in terms of buying and selling, could be quite a revolving door.
As a journalist, you're better placed than most to answer this question. Where do those rumours come from, and are they ever planted by the agents themselves in order to whip up interest in their client?
I'm sure they are. Yeah, I mean, it's a long time since I was covering football at Pompey's level as a sport reporter. and it's very on the level I'm at now. I'm sort of covering more non-league stuff, and that's different sort of ball game really. Yeah, I think sometimes the rumours come from agents who are trying to get their players' names out there. If an agent thinks his player wants to move to a Championship club, he might start a rumour saying that there's a couple of Premier League clubs interested in him, for example, just to sort of hire the sort of bar to start with, and then, if you end up going to a Championship club, you're not disappointed. I think you see in these social media days where everybody is on Instagram and X and Facebook and everything else, there's a lot of players who have quite a public presence as well, and sometimes I think these rumours will come from something they might say or something cryptic that they might put out on their social media, which is sometimes intentional and sometimes not. And I think sometimes rumours can start from fans. I think if enough, you've got a lot of fans on podcasts and things like that. I know we're talking now on a podcast partly, but you've got, if you've got a fan or a group of fans at a particular club who have got a platform, and they say, "I'd love us to sign Fred Bloggs in the summer," there might be no substance to that at all until that fan says it, but it kind of then becomes a rumour, then becomes a story, because fan A has said it, fan B and C have agreed with him. A couple of sort of transfer rumour websites will then report it as saying fans of this club will want their team to sign that player. There's so many ways nowadays that these rumours can start. And sometimes there'll be substance to them, and sometimes not. We've seen it. Every transfer window we chat away on here, don't we? And we go through some of the names. And let's be honest, most of the names that crop up and start to get talked about that are not then the players that Pompey sign. More often than not, it's Pompey are signing players that haven't had rumours spread about them. But it's the nature of the game, really, and it's part of the fun and games of being a fan. I think you like to speculate about who your club is in. For.
Yeah.
You like to talk up their chance. You like to talk up their chances of getting a great player, or a player who's been on loan with you and impressed you. But a lot of it is just talk, and a lot of it is never stuff that's likely to happen. But that won't stop the rumours happening.
No, you've reminded me of something. Very, very short story. I got phoned up once when I was at the BBC, and it was David Gold's people, and they said, David would love to come on your show in the afternoon. So, wow, we set an hour aside for him. And he sat down, and very quickly he said, I would just like to say that there is absolutely no truth in the rumour that I'm interested in buying Brighton Football Club. Absolutely none whatsoever. I don't know where these rumours come from. It's so embarrassing. And then he went away, and in the newsroom he said, can I borrow that phone? And he phoned the owner of Brighton to apologise personally for the rumours, and in order to make up for it said, can I buy you dinner? And he bought the owner of Brighton dinner and tried to buy the club. Because that was his plan.
Yeah. So he's almost started the rumour himself and denied it.
I think that some people enjoy stirring it, don't they? They enjoy pulling one over on somebody.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and let's face it, there's a lot of people in football, whether they're directors, chairmen, managers, agents, players. They've got their own. They're thinking of number one, quite rightly. They're looking after number one. They've got an interest in starting a particular rumour, so why wouldn't they? It's no different to a journalist starting a rumour. A journalist might start a rumour because he wants a story, he or she wants a story. A player or an agent would start it for different reasons, but yeah, they all start somewhere. And as I say, some of them have got got the legs, others haven't. But no, it's a good story about David Gold.
Well, journalists working on Portsmouth Football Club, on Pompey, and there are several for whom it's pretty much their livelihood, I suppose. They're in for a tough time in the next few weeks because, as you rightly said, the season is more or less over now. It feels closed season already, but the summer transfer window doesn't start up for another, 6 weeks? 6 weeks?
It's about that, isn't it? Yeah, is it start around end of May, something like that, isn't it? Start of June? Yeah, that's true, although the fact that the window hasn't opened yet won't stop the talk, will it? There'll still be, I suppose, before we get to the stage where we've got stories saying Pompey are interested in player A or player B or player C, the focus before then will be on the existing squad and who's doing what, who's going to get a new deal, who's going to be released, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of, and there'll be a lot of talk about the question that we've already talked about. What is Pompey's approach going to be this summer? You know, how are they going to go about their business? So there's enough to keep people occupied. And it's difficult to keep people occupied because Pompey fans want stories about Pompey every day. There's a constant thirst for them. Doesn't matter if the season's finished or the season's 6 weeks away or in the middle of a season. That doesn't change how much of their day Pompey fans spend thinking, right, what's happening? I'm going to look up the news or going to look at Facebook or Twitter or whatever to see what's happening. So yeah, there will be a period where there are a lot of stories that actually don't say much. A lot of it will be speculation, and opinion. But then we'll see. I think it'll be a little while before the window opens where we get to the stage where we're saying potential new player that might be coming to Pompey is this man, or Pompey are being linked with. Pompey have got their eye on this player and that player. And I'm sure we'll be all lapping it up on here as well. But it might seem like a few long weeks, mightn't it?
It might. We're already running some silly season stories. Our first one is the simple fact, and it is a fact, that against Leicester you could tell which side was full of ex-Premier League players and which side was full of Championship at best players by their haircuts. Leicester had 3 or 4 superb dreadlocks, an afro, and a demi-mohican. And Terry Devlin looks like a squaddy. He looks like a Lance Corporal.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah. If Terry Devlin ever plays in the Premier League, do you think he'll change his haircut?
Oh yeah, they all have personal hairdressers, don't they?
Yeah. I don't think Terry will, though. I think he'll stay true to his roots, and I think he's man of the people. Is Terry? I think he'll be. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll keep what he's got. There'll be no fancy new style for Terry. That's interesting. Actually, hadn't that totally passed me by. I was so bemused by Leicester's lack of talent and interest in winning that I didn't notice the haircuts.
Oh, the hair, man.
Yeah. That was potentially more interesting looking at that than watching the game. It wasn't a classic, was it?
It wasn't a classic, no. Steve, as ever, thank you so much. We didn't get on to talking about Stoke or Birmingham, but we will.
No, we'll probably draw. Couple of 1-1 draws, probably.
Okay, you're down.
Season 1-1
we'll put you down for a couple of 1-0s.
Yeah, we'll go for those.
All right.
Why not?
Many thanks.
Thank you.